Chris, man, we are so excited to talk with you. I hope you're doing well.
Ryan, I'm doing well. I'm absolutely well. Got a good weekend of football action, and everybody thinks they know what every team is all about after week one, and it's a long season, but at least we know more than we did a week ago.
All right, we cannot wait, and we've been teasing this for a couple of hours, anticipating your arrival. What'd you think of the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Well, listen, I thought they played well. I'll start defensively. I thought they showed a lot of toughness. They made some mistakes, but they competed well. I thought they played fast, even though they made mistakes. The thing when I broke down the tape, the thing that jumped out at me was, on the defensive mistakes. You've got a new guy making the calls and making the adjustments, and they weren't always in sync there. And that's why they gave up some plays later in the game where there's some free release guys. And I think as time goes along, you learn as a player when there's some unscouted looks, which simply means that a team does something that you haven't seen on tape. Then you've got to have a check-to call that this is something that is going to be the right salve for the sword here, and get everybody playing fast, doing the same thing. I think there was a little bit of mix-up with that. That is normal. I think it happened certainly less on Alabama's defense than I saw around the country, including some impressive performances defensively. But you see that they're athletic, they're young, they're capable of being a great defense, and I expect they will be. Offensively, loved what I saw, absolutely loved it. I thought the offensive line played well. I think that certainly with Tua running the offense, it brings all the playmakers at receiver in the game, which you don't have with Jalen as much, where it is a pre-designed route and then it's a one read and run type of situation, or it's a half field read on a boot. You've got a lot more athletes that are running that you've got to defend. So good luck trying to defend this offense that has the ability to score a lot and still has the threat of playing both quarterbacks at some point. And even if they don't, you've got to prepare for the complete passing game, the different route trees different routes on the route tree that they will run and do run, and you've got to play a lot more coverage against Alabama now. And then if they choose to do so, have to defend the RPOs and everything that involves the run game with the quarterback, whether it's improvisational runs by Tua or some design runs, or certainly if Jalen's in, there's just not enough time to prepare for everything this offense could put in play potentially in any given game. And I'll just say this because, I've been asked this a lot on national radio and all that. I've addressed it with you like 100 times in the off season, and I'll say it again. Well, why doesn't he do this? Why we're talking about why doesn't he? Isn't Tua clearly the best? And it's not about that with Nick, and it's never been about that. He knows what Tua can give them, but he also knows that he needs to prepare Jalen Hurts to be the quarterback, potentially the starting quarterback, if Tua goes down, and you're one play away from being the guy that has to run the entire offense. So getting both of these guys prepared, the best way, optimally, is to have both of these guys focused and competing. And now going forward, I think they will have a package for Jalen. I think that when or where they use it is going to depend. For me, and I've done this before as a coach, I was a part of a staff in the SEC doing this very thing. The one thing you want to be cognizant of, and I think they will be, of course, is when you're in a rhythm, you're in a pace, I think you want to make sure that necessary. Let's say you have something in design that on the second series of the second quarter, well, that's fine, but as long as the game dictates that that's the good decision, if you're in a flow, you may not want to mess that flow. So that's going to be, a challenge to manage it, but it's a good challenge. It's like, trying to dip your hand in a cookie jar and trying to figure out, which element you want to go to. And as I said, good luck trying to defend them. So I was really impressed and obviously it's going to be really tough to try to stop this team this year.
Chris, just give me, and this may not even be a question that you can answer because I don't think a lot of the defensive coordinators in this league will have an answer. But what route would you choose to try to attack this offense and maybe try to slow it down?
Well, first of all, if you can't stop the run, you have no chance. Okay, in any level of football, if you can't stop the run, then it's over. So you have to be able to defend the run. Now, be that with 7, be that with 8, be that with run blitzes, stunts, everything, you've got to stop the run. And if you do that in forced third and longs, then you've got to, I think, then come with pressure on third and long and try to keep Tua in the pocket is the best way I would try to do it. But if you don't stop the run, it's over, because at that point, that's what still Alabama wants to do and should do, because that is the key to them, controlling games. As I've said before, you've heard me say it, the only way Alabama loses is if they're turning the football over a bunch. Or, you try to get in a shootout with a team that, might be – there are teams around the country that are as good as Alabama playing shootout, passing game. They got Big 12 is full of them. But nobody can play the type of defense. If you're up-tempo, which Alabama's not going to do, and that's wise, you try to get into that type of a game, then I think that brings in the element of what other people do well and maybe takes away something that you do well but not what you do best. So I think what Alabama wants to do is control the line of scrimmage and wear down opponents. And if you overplay the run, they're going to beat you with the big play. And I would be cognizant defensively playing against them that they're going to try to set up the run and then get the big play off of it. Once they can get man coverage, and if they can move the safety out of the middle of the field, they're going to throw it, and they're going to try to get some points and then play with the lead. So you've got to be wary of the play-action pass, which I think Tua does so well, and moving the safeties and the linebackers with his ball handling, his play-faking ability. So you've got to really be schooled on that, and I think that, it's not one of those cases where you can line up and play too deep coverage and try to defend the run. I mean, if you're good enough to be able to defend that Alabama run with 7, have at it, but that's going to be very difficult to do. So I'm probably going to move that safety, and I'm going to try to get in there, stop the run, and force the ball out in third and long. That's the best opportunity. And if you do that, then maybe the ball bounces, maybe the pass is not quite as accurate. Maybe you've got a corner that can match up and you can force it to the boundary, and that's the best opportunity you have, I think, to try to defend them.
Chris, is it fair to say that this offense will still grow and still improve and will even get better?
Yeah, I think they left some plays out on the field, quite frankly, and I think what they're going to have to do, and I know everybody's excited about what Tua can do, but I will say this again for the 100th time, to be a great quarterback, okay, not a playmaker, but to be a great quarterback, it's about the plays you don't make as much as the plays you do make. You touch the ball on every play, so it is not something you should try to make a big play every play. You've got to be cognizant of making good decisions, manipulating a defense, and taking advantage of what the defense is going to give you by overplaying one area, you attack the other. So while there's definitely the element
traffic from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, where you
throw it deep corner in the end zone, that's something that I know him well enough to know that Nick just swallowed hard, probably had to reach down and get his tongue out of his throat, because that's the type of thing that you worry about. The kid gives a flair to make plays, and you don't want to take that away, but you also want him to make sure that know where you're going with the football, know what you see, and I think once he becomes even better at that, you're going to see, I didn't think he put the ball in harm's way very much. I mean, it was, when I go back and look, and I know it's a different team and a far less caliber defense, but You go back to the championship game, and, he made a lot of mental mistakes, and he put the ball in harm's way, and he got away with it. You're not going to get away with it playing like he did in that game over the long haul. Against Louisville, the threat wasn't there, and going forward, I think he's going to get better and better. The best thing that's really helped him, and I know in my time looking, I did go to a couple practices in the spring, and I know looking at a lot of the tape, is how well Tua has played against this Alabama defense in practice, fall practice, spring practice, and the fact that obviously there are not a lot of throwing lanes, and you've got to be really careful with the football when you can execute against that defense. The defenses that you're going to play most Saturdays, or pretty much every Saturday with, say, one or two, are not even close to what Alabama can provide in practice on a daily basis.
Nick Saban was asked on Monday to evaluate Tosh Lapoy, and he went into a conversation that he didn't evaluate coaches in public, that he does that privately. He said we all work as a team. I'm just curious, maybe if you might be able to evaluate the way that he set up that defense. And just I know you made a comment in the opening analysis, but maybe even further expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think, listen, I thought they did a good job. Again, understand that the communication part between the Mike backer making the calls and the call coming from the sideline, that is something that is not necessarily a Tosh issue. It's maybe did we cover that, or did we not prepare him well enough, or is he a little confused? Because, for example, Louisville ran a lot of things, again, what we call unscouted looks. By design, you always will have things in your game plan that the opponent could not have scouted because it's not on film. And so those situations were more along the line of the kid's a little confused, and what you've got to do is prepare him for that. And I don't know that they didn't prepare him for that as much as maybe that he just, in that moment, it wasn't as smooth to him as a on-the-field play caller, and I'm talking the player now, more so than it is Tosh. I am not aware. I'm not on the headset, obviously, so I don't know if there were any communication errors or problems at all. I don't anticipate any problem whatsoever. I know how Nick teaches his coaches. I know how he prepares them, and I know how play calling on the offensive and defensive side is an art, and it's a feel. But it's an art and a feel based upon a science and preparation. And, as time goes along, he's going to get better at it. But I'm going to say it again, is they're going to get better and better and better at it once they improve that ability. When you have a new, guy making adjustments on the field as a player, that is, Mack Wilson's going to get better and better at it. But, that's where, too, you got to understand that when you make the call, you're making a call based upon a personnel grouping in an initial set, but then you've got to have the player trained. It's like teaching somebody how to recognize certain things, recognize a problem, and he's got to be able to be taught to where he's comfortable when he sees something that is not familiar, that he's got to go with something, and he's got to get everybody on the same page. The only thing that I saw in the big plays that were given up was just they weren't all doing the same thing. They obviously called something what he best felt was the best call in that situation for something that was unscouted, and then you maybe other guys did not get it or thinking something else, and that's where the confusion gets in. That's why it's the only way you get a guy running free is if you just got a miscommunication issue. And to that aspect, on the back end, you've got an adjustment. And what you do up front, what Mac calls, affects what, the call is going to be in the secondary. So I thought Tosh, did a good job. And you always look at the mistakes and improve upon them. And, they made, I can tell you, and I've, got film grade reports on a lot of college games to this point. I looked at a lot of tape this week, and we're really nitpicking because this defense played better than most people I saw on tape this week, including some that maybe didn't even play as good of an opponent as Louisville. So,
but you got to remember, we're all in this Saban frame of mind, right?
That's right.
He walked in. He walked into the media room down in Orlando, and the opening comment, "I'm pissed off around here." I love it.
Well, and that's because they didn't play well down the stretch. And again, this is what you got to decide: is okay, why did we make those mistakes? Okay, why were you confused? Or was it an effort issue? And some of it was a little bit of complacency, which he doesn't worry about wrong call. That'll get fixed. That'll get improved with repetition. But I can tell you it gives him the, we'll just call it the crimson butt. Let's just do that and make it time. What'll make him really tick him off if it's complacency when – okay, we're up, we got this game, and then a guy takes a bad angle or what I call a lazy angle because I don't quite need to get it, and I may say that's the thing that kills them because everything is a habit. And if it's okay to take that play off, then all of a sudden, he's got that saying all the time, if you've been around practice, we don't practice to get it right, we practice to where you can't get it wrong. And if you tend to loaf a play here or there, so what? You still win by 30 or whatever. Then what happens when it's a one-possession game in the fourth quarter and in a big game? You just don't turn it on. You have to do things right. As Coach Lombardi used to say, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And I always believe that Belichick always used to say, practice makes permanent. So how you practice, and there is a form of execution in a game and a practice. That's why if you're not going to loaf in practice, you sure as heck ain't going to loaf in a game. I don't care what the score is. And if you don't do it well, you're going to feel the wrath.
Chris, I want to ask you in the final few minutes here, just a little bit of a preview. Is Arkansas State any of a threat to Alabama, in your opinion? I know it's 37.5 points, but they certainly could throw the football around.
Yeah, Justin Hanson's a good player at that level. No, it's not a threat to Alabama. What is, this game is a playthrough game. It's a game in which, one thing I wanted to ask that I noticed, too, that I thought contributed to some of the breakdowns, and it applies to this game even more. That's why it just comes in my mind, is they're trying to find the next day. They played Surtain a lot at the star position. They're trying to find other options there because they want to have multiple guys that can play it, and that contributed to in some assignment errors. So I think what you're going to see is a lot of that. I think you're going to see them split even more reps there. So, again, for the fan, it might be, you're going to see how bad they beat this team. But for the coaches, what they're looking for is assignment-wise, how well will guys do things? So defensively, offensively, how will you play? And it not whether you're better than that team. That's a given. They won't say that. But the challenge is, do your assignment as best as you can. Can we trust you in this look, in this coverage? You got to, this from a player standpoint, you got to begin to do that. Because here's the thing that I hear this a lot. Well, you don't learn anything about your team when you play a bad opponent. Well, the result doesn't tell you anything, but you do learn some things. You learn how your team will compete. You learn how they will play with a lead, how they will be focused and attentive to their little attention to detail and assignment-wise. Now, the result may be different when you play a better opponent because the guy on the other side may be a lot more talented. But it should not affect your ability to play technique and be disciplined in your technique, whether the guy is, a 5-star guy or a 0-star guy. You need to play it the same way every time. And if you don't, then you just ingrain bad habits. And when you need to call upon it, it just doesn't work. I always use this analogy, because a lot of people play golf, Ryan. You're not doing yourself any good if you go out to the driving range and you just hit, unless you're just trying to loosen up. I get that all the time. People will just swing in, and you need to go out there and every shot, whether it's 10 or 500 shots on the range that you hit, you need to take every one as if you're lining up a shot and you're focusing on where you want to land the ball, and you play it like a real shot. Because if you don't, then what are you doing when you need to hit that shot 150 yards in or hit the tee shot? And how do you, if you haven't practiced it on the range and you're just going through the motions and thinking you're doing something where you're really not doing anything? Football's the same way. And so how you practice and get ready for a game like this is important, because you're looking at how you improve your technique, how you get better. And now you have to do that and challenge yourself. So I don't think it's going to give them a great deal of resistance, but it's going to be up to Alabama. How well they play it will determine how much better they get through this game before they head into what's the start of the SEC schedule.
Hey, Chris, let's stop here and talk about LandryFootball.com. We always appreciate your time, the great insight that you're able to provide. The website's simply amazing. Tuesday, Thursday podcast. We've talked about the Wednesday, the new podcast that's going to be out, that's already out today, that will continue throughout the college football season. Stop and talk about the website, and then we'll hook up with you next week.
Well, we're really proud of it. Obviously, we do it a little differently. We take folks inside the film room, and we really get into the college game, the pro game. So, for example, right now we've got numerous. First one we did actually was Alabama's, the film room breakdown. So you got to easy to search. You go on the left side, you look for your favorite team, NFL team, college team. Click on it. It's got all the polls. So we've got the film room, the breakdown of this past game, and a little bit of a peek ahead to this next week. And obviously we'll have the previews coming up. But we do that with all the teams, as many as we can get our film on to break that down each week. We do the same in the NFL. Today we've got the final season previews for the NFL season, with the season starting tomorrow, and we'll obviously have all the previews. So, listen, we review the games, we preview the games, we take you inside the film room, whether it's evaluating the personnel, the schemes, the coaching part of it, draft prospects, you name it. At the college and pro level, it's one-stop shopping football. So, check us out at LandryFootball.com. Follow me on Twitter at LandryFootball. We try to keep everybody updated as I'm monitoring many games on Saturday and Sunday. It's a good way to kind of keep up with what's going on. But it's a great opportunity. We've got our best membership package ever during the season. We've lowered the price to make it more affordable and to still give folks what they want for less than a magazine subscription. It's like having your own scouting and coaching personnel department from the college and NFL level. So we think you'll love it, and we appreciate everybody checking it out.
Hey, no doubt. Chris, thank you again. We'll talk to you next Wednesday. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Take care, buddy.